Hello everyone, my name is Muir and this is Atlyss. Atlyss is a new game that just released a little while ago. It came out of, I think it's in early access right now, but the game is pretty straightforward and pretty fun. It's very limited in what it can do at the moment, but it tends to have a decent number of people playing it, so I'll just select a random character, and yeah, there's still a good number of lobbies to play in. You can cycle if you want to do, let's say, if we wanted to just do an RP lobby or something, there are plenty of those. If you want to do PvP, not as many, but they still exist. There's actually an arena that you can go into in a PvE game, and that'll let you duel your friends. You can set it to nearby, far, and worldwide, but let's go ahead and get back to the base screen. So, yeah, Atlyss, pretty fun game. There are a bunch of races to play, but let's go ahead and look at the settings. So, players can have their characters' bust sizes and, we'll say, gluteus maximi be absolutely absurd in this game. So you can limit those proportions to normal proportions. Same thing with suggestive jiggle bones. You can turn those off as well if you don't want characters jiggling all over the place. You can enable clear clothing, so that's people can turn clothing off. They can make it transparent, basically. You can't see it. It's full screen mode. You can lock it to 60 just in case you have a really high-end PC, so you're not getting, 1,000 frames a second. You can turn on various smoothings, you can turn up the FOV, various camera smoothings and render distances. I don't know what the bit crocheter is, but it's there. You can turn on and off distortions and all that good stuff. Audio is pretty general stuff. If you're going to be playing this, and doing something else, or listening to something, you can turn off the music, you can turn off the sound effects. The controls, pretty standard stuff. This usually starts around here, so you're going to need to turn that way down. If you're using a trackball, you can invert the X and Y axes as you wish. The controls are pretty standard. You're probably going to want to change them a little bit. So dodge I have on mouse 4. If you have a thumb button on your mouse, that is the one that's closest to you. And then I have some other abilities on mouse 5, that's the thumb button that's furthest from you, and the middle mouse button, as well as Q, because that's just used to swap between the two weapons that you can hold at any given time. You can only have 6 abilities at any given time. That's going to be important later, but you can also have 5 potions, so that's not too bad. You can look up various UIs, and there are other tabs, just like most other RPGs that you'll play. It's all pretty straightforward stuff. For the interface, you can activate enemy name tags, all this stuff, hide the dungeon map if you just don't want to see it, and you can also tell the game to flag you for PvP automatically when you enter an area where PvP is available, in case you want that PvP experience while not playing on a PvP server. Some people do, some people don't. But let's go ahead and look at some character generation, shall we? So there are 5 races right now. There are the imps, there are the poons. They, they're basically like Cabot people, I guess. There are kobolds, birdles, so bird people, and then mouse people. So let's go ahead and talk about these real quick. So you see these initial skills. You can find these in chests, so don't feel that you absolutely have to. If you're going to play a tank, you need to play this character. If you're going to play a rogue, you need to play this class. A caster, that one. This just makes you move faster. And then this one lets you life-steal enemies for a little heal as well. Don't feel like you need to go into this to get these, because you can just get them out of initial dungeons. Like level 1 to 6 dungeons, which you'll be doing probably within the first 30 minutes. It's possible for them to drop, they might not. Don't worry about them too much, you'll probably get them all throughout the game. So, what should you do in this case? Well, pick the one that you like the most. Now, I talked about jiggle physics, about jiggle physics being kind of crazy. Well, yeah, you can make them look like that. I guess if you really want them, you could make them look like that too. So, this also goes for males. You can make them a chunky person if you want. Super wide. But let's look at what we have. Let's also just randomize their bodies real quick. Defaults, that works. Alright. So, body texture. Each race has a certain number of body textures that they can have. They all have a bald option in case you want to get rid of that and just look at the textures. So they typically have a single variation. So they realistically have 4 different versions. They have 2 variants of 4 different versions. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1, well, this is 1B, 2B, 3B, 4B, and then 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. Every race has this. Sometimes it's not always on the face. You can turn off clothing if you want to, so you can just see the differences in them. Sometimes it'll only be in the face. Some of them might have less. I think the imp only has 2 variations. Well, 3 variations. The kobolds have a handful as well, and the Birtles, they have a handful as well, I think. So yeah, you should be able to make something that you like with this. There are the various... It does use not the yellow-red RBG, red, blue, green system. I think this is CMYK, maybe? I'm not sure. But yeah, what you'll want to do is you'll want to find the color that you want generally, and then go from there to try and figure out how you're going to do what you want to do. This looks like brightness. I think this is this is not saturation. Something else. And this is saturation. So light, dark, saturation, and then I don't know. I'm pretty sure somebody is... Oh, luminescence, maybe? Somebody is currently posting in the comments about how I'm stupid. But, yeah, you have various different shades that you can make yourself. There are various hairstyles as well as you can color your horns as well. You may take a little bit of doing to get everything to match up the way that you want, but overall, it should be fairly nice. So you have various head widths as well. Modify how far your snout goes out. And then your voice. So whenever you type anything in chat, your character is going to make a sound. Just to let people know that you have actually written something. So they all have various types of hairs, so we'll just start with bald and go from there. Okay, we have various ears as well. Grab some eye variations. As well as various variations of the mouth as well. And then usually races will have some type of difference for them. For the imps it's horns, for these guys it's antlers. Yeah, this guy's horns as well. The birds have the least amount, but their skin differences, their body texture is the most different from everybody else. And then these guys have whiskers. Okay, but hair on... They also all have different hairstyles as well. That's another thing to keep in mind. And they all tend to be slightly different heights as well. So It's not really going to make that big of a difference. I believe the males and females, the men and women, have, however you want to say it, they all have the same hairstyles. So if you want a character with this body type to have a certain hairstyle or that body type, you can do that. Works out pretty well. Alright, so let's change his hair color so we can actually see. Alright. So his ears, let's turn off the heat. Okay. Alright, his various eyes. His various eyes. And their mouths. Then we have various types of antlers. Alright, sounds good. What about the cables? Now again, the male and female options, there's not an in-between option, but the male and female options are, yeah, as I said, they all have the same hairstyles and everything like that. Okay, so let's see, I guess we're like that. So, hair. And their ears. I'm not sure what counts as the ears. Right, okay. So they have two sets of horns, it seems. Or they have ears. So they have they have an extra pair of horns or ears. Gotcha. They have various eyes as well. They seem to have fewer eyes than everybody else, but then they have various other mouths. What the? Okay. We can have a targeting reticule on our forehead. It's our third eye, I guess. Maybe that one's supposed to be hidden because it doesn't show up on one of the other passes. Alright, what about the Birtles? These I don't have much familiarity with. Alright. Let's unlock the hair so it looks slightly different. Alright, hair. Okay, sounds good. Then we have various eyes as well. Fortunately, you cannot change your eye color at the moment if it is not one of these options. Then we have, these guys have beaks, so various different forms of beaks. Alright, then these guys. Let's unlock his hair color so it's different from his body. Yeah, he doesn't have very many hair color options. He doesn't have very many hair options. Okay, and his mouth. And then he's whiskers. I think there's like 5 if you check. 5 if you count none. Different variations. Alright, and his body texture. Alright, sounds good. So if you wanted to do a trash panda, you could make something that looks like that. Now, they all have various variations on their tails as well. Let's look at those real quick. So let's go to body for that. Those are the same regardless of the gender of the character. Oh man, those ears. They're enormous. Alright, and then our mouse. An enormous tail sticking out from behind them. And if you wanted to mirror your character, so if you are left-handed and you want your character to be left-handed, just hit mirror body, and that should work out for you. Alright, so let's talk about what these abilities actually do real quick. So, Siphon Leech, this, you shoot a projectile, it does an amount of damage to the enemy. That scales a little decently well, I suppose, especially for the early game. And the damage that it deals heals you. It does have a decent cooldown on it, but I think it also maxes out at level 3. Leg up, this makes you move faster, it increases your speed, and it gives you increased evasion. That's just a chance for an enemy to miss when hitting you with an attack. So this is useful. You can buy this in the open world very easily, very quickly. I think you can literally run straight to the vendor who sells it as soon as you get out into the open world and buy it immediately if you have the money. Alacrity, I found this in a dungeon. I haven't found anybody at least super early who sells this, but someone might. What this does is this basically makes it so that your next spell will be instacast and free. Very useful. We then have Inner Focus. This makes it so that the next attack has a 100% crit chance, so your next hit will crit. This is important if you're having something where you are going to just do a ton of damage with this next big attack and you want to make sure that it just does as much damage as possible. You can probably buy this from a vendor, but I'm not sure. I think because there's I think like 2 or so field vendors, and one of them might sell this, otherwise it'll drop in a dungeon from a chest. We have Sturdy. This one is not bought at a vendor at all, to my knowledge. You have to find it in a chest, but as it turns out, grinding dungeons is one of the faster ways to level up if you are getting the repeatable quests to just continually clear dungeons over and over, so it works out. What this does is while it is active, your character will auto-parry attacks. So parrying in this system, in this game, is... It works fairly well. It generally is fairly generous with allowing you to parry things. Yeah, so parrying and blocking consumes stamina, which is like a little circle. You'll see it when we get into the game. And in effect, that if you parry an enemy instead of blocking an enemy, the enemy will become stunned and you can just wail on them. If an enemy is high enough level over you, or their attack is high enough or something, I don't really know why yet, it will make it so that you cannot parry them, period, but you can block them. So there is something there. But yeah, this basically can operate for up to 8 seconds and effectively make it so that you can just hold down attack or do whatever it is that you want to do. Again, all of these skills do drop in dungeons, and you can buy some of them from vendors right at the start of the game. So don't really worry too much about this. Everyone's stats start as the same, and the game is very simplistic about how it runs its stats and how equipment scales. So don't worry about that too much. There is no race that is better than any other one by like level 10 or so. So you don't need to be a kobold to be a mystic or a wizard Black Mage. You don't need to be a Brutal if you want to be a Rogue. You don't need to be a Chang if you want to tank. You can play whatever you want. Alright, so, with that out of the way, let's look at the classes, shall we? Actually, we need to make a class so we can see the, well, we can see the novice skills. But let's go over to, where is it? Here we are. So when we start the game, we have 6 points to spend. These 6 points are pretty important. So we have a bunch of weapons. There's actually another weapon type that we can't see here. So we have, this is what is effectively a sword. I found this is probably one of the better melee weapons in the game because it's fast. We have heavy weapons, which are very slow to swing, but they do the most single hit damage in the game. They also hit an area in front of them, so the swords slashes are very small around you, whereas the heavy weapon hits in a big 180 degree or so arc ahead of you and also somewhat further away from you. The only problem is that it's very slow compared to the sword. We have the wand, which shoots magic out from you and can hit the enemy. We have the bow, which shoots arrows. And we have the, what are effectively katars, or fist blades, if you will, fist knives, punching daggers. And these hit relatively quickly and often. So we have strength. This strength scales primarily for swords, heavy weapons, and spears. We haven't seen spears because you can't start with one, but it goes with those three. Mine scales with wands and bells. We haven't seen bells yet, don't worry, we probably will. Dexterity scales with fist blades and bows. And the fun thing about this is that there's no real overlap. Increasing your mind does not increase strength damage at all. So if we're using a sword and we're not doing any weird stuff with it, we're not enchanting anything, this will do extra damage with our strength. Up to a cap. Don't worry about that if you're just starting. If we are using a bow, the only thing that matters is dexterity. So what this really means is that you don't want to put points into something you're not going to use. Now, I want to caution you very much against just dumping everything. Let's say we wanted to be a mage. Don't just dump everything into mine. Because if you do, you will be a glass cannon. And the simple nature of this game is, enemies do not use any kind of off-screen, non-attack stuff. So let me explain that. In many action RPGs, enemies will only generally attack you, at least on normal difficulties, when they are on screen. If they're off screen, they'll just sort of stand there and posture and growl at you and stuff. So if you take Devil May Cry, and you can actually test this in some instances, enemy aggression is toned way down when you are not able to see them. If they are not on the screen, they probably aren't going to attack you, because the game's entire thing is you pick an enemy, you jump on an enemy, you rip it to pieces. It's all about combos and looking cool. If you're getting hit by attacks you can't see, in those games your score goes down and players are upset about it, typically. That system does not exist in this game. So you typically want to be able to tank hits and not just instantly die. If you do not put points in vitality, you will 100% get to the point, probably around level 10, 12, 14, where you just instantly die, regardless of what gear you have on. One enemy hits you, you die. So keep that in mind. You do want to be increasing vitality. What is typically recommended is to, every time you level up, you're going to get 3 unspent points. 3 ability points, so put 2 into the stat that you want to use, with 1 in vitality. You kind of always want to be increasing vitality because you don't get extra health or mana from leveling up. You do get more mana from putting points in mind, so depending on the class you're playing, it might be useful to put points in mind, but not for the most part. So, with all of that in mind, let's get over here and look at these characters. That's the bell I was talking about. And there are various other skills that you can get fairly quickly. We're just going to go and look at one of the earlier vendors that you can get to as well, just so you can see that. So this is the bell. Okay, so this is a wand. Wands basically do this. There you go. You have seen what wands do. Okay. So, what about bells? Well, bells hit in an AoE. If you hold a direction when you attack with a bell, you will just move that direction a little bit. What I have found tends to work well in dungeons is just moving from this and then dashing. That tends to make it so that the enemies are always sort of chasing me. When you pick a class at level 10, you're going to get a bunch of abilities. Keep in mind, you only have 6 slots. So you're going to kind of quickly figure out what you want to be using. Do you want a healing spell? Yeah, you're probably going to need that. So I'm going to put that on Q. So if I need to, I can just press Q and heal me and everyone around me. And so, with the Mystic, we have Flux Bolt, Flux Spear, Cross, Nova, Prism, Imbue, Restora, Blink, and Mana Flow. In most of the classes seem to have something where they have a passive, so Mana Flow increases how quickly we regenerate mana. Blink makes it so that we get something after our dash that we can activate. That's Blink. That second part is Blink. Restora is an AoE heal, so I can, if I'm playing in a group of people and people are getting jacked up, I can just run over, heal everyone. Restora activates and it just does a bunch of healing all at once, no healing over time. It doesn't matter if the heal... It doesn't matter if you take damage while you're casting it or if you take damage after it's cast. It will still heal. Imbue increases the amount of magic defense and magic attack power that you have. So, what that really translates to is you get some virtual mind there, basically, for attacks. So, I don't know if that actually shows up here, but if we press that, yeah, it doesn't really show up, but we see magic attack power here. That's 49. Prism basically just gives you flat bonus health. It gives you a damage shield. This doesn't get reduced by armor, to my knowledge, so it's just a flat shield. It's not going to be something that is going to scale with you at all. No scaling. So if you want to put points into it, you can. That's great. Nova is an AoE around you. An AoE nuke. So this basically just emits a ring, just like Frost Nova or anything else from any other game that has something where you press a button and poof around and boom around you. So this just does damage. It's a fairly short cooldown. It's insta cast, so you don't have to worry about that. However, as a caster, you're not typically going to be in melee or close to enemies unless there's a specific reason for it. Like, this is the stay away class, basically. This is the only thing that really requires you to be very close to the enemy. So there's a chance that it also knocks back enemies and gets them away from you. So this is the definition of the keep away skill. Next we have Cross. So Cross is a skill that you channel it. Now, I typically didn't like channeled skills because I didn't have my stuff set up right. But think of it like this. When you press the button, it's going to shoot that off, and then when you let go of it, it's going to explode. And that explosion is going to deal damage to the enemy. So that does... It's rank 2, and it does 24 damage, and it lowers the enemy's magic defense by 10 for a little bit of time. I don't know how long, but it does. What that means is you would want to use Cross and then something like Flux Bolt, which does 30 damage at rank 2, to do more damage. Because the enemy's magic defense is lowered, they're now going to take additional damage from all your magic attacks. That probably likely includes your wand or your bell. So Flux Spear has a chance to just stun enemies on hit. Let's see, does the stun scale? Yes, the stun scales over time. It also does a decent amount of damage. It has a long cooldown on it. We then have Flux Bolt. This is your bread and butter sort of skill. It's basically a magic missile. Think of it as a stronger version of shooting out of your wand. It also hits multiple times, so the initial damage is 30 and it hits twice, so this does 60 damage. Next level it's going to hit 3 times for 38 damage, so it's going to do over 100 damage next time. So we can sort of see this in action. We go over here, and we use, say, Cross. Okay, well, he took 21 damage, and he just took 19 and 28. You see that little debuff around him as well. You'll notice that we are doing various other amounts of damage. We can see the debuffs on him and under his name in the screen. Okay, so let's take this. So it did 24 and 16. And then 26, 15. About 15 to 26-ish. Okay, well, how about now? Okay, took 19 and 29, 31 and 19, and 29 and 20. So we are able to see an increase in the amount of damage that we're doing. That's his defenses being lower. If we were to put our buff on, which is 3 right now, we can see that we have a magic attack power of 41, and now it's 46, so we do even more damage. Okay, so you'll be wanting to start stacking these things as far as you can. So wands, they hit once, and bells, they can hit multiple times. They can all, when they explode, they'll push enemies back from them. So one of the kiting methods that you can use is just keep making it so that the ball is going to explode where the enemy is, and that will push them back. You can cast this down at the ground if you want to pretty much always push them out of the way. But that's kind of the general gist of these. We are a poon, so we get leg up. As you can see, we don't have any points in it. It's useful, I guess, but it's not the most useful thing either, ever. So recovery is a heal over time. If you take damage while it's active, it will cancel the effect. At level 5, this heals a percentage of your health instead of a flat amount, which makes it infinitely more useful. Rock Toss is essentially your nuke that requires no mana whatsoever to use. Leg Up makes you move faster. Spire is something that you can buy as well. It just makes 3 spikes that all do damage. They don't target anything in particular, they just do their thing and that's it. Fireball you can also buy relatively soon. Shoots up to 2 fireballs out, and then at level 3 has 1 fireball just spin around you. If it hits an enemy, it'll explode and deal damage. Alright, so let's look at the next class, shall we? But I'll be right back. And we're back. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that you're enjoying it, Nikki AD. So that was the Mystic that I started with. I actually found this to be kind of the weaker class once I started trying the other ones out. The Fighter was the second one that I rushed. So let's check out the Fighter, shall we? So I found the wand and the bell to both be kind of weak and somewhat limited, but it might have just been a lack of experience in the game. So after that, we have the sword. Now, as you can see, this is swinging very quickly, right? This is kind of nice, because you're able to do a relatively high amount of damage relatively quickly. But let's go ahead and look at these. So we have Siphon Leech, so this is going to do 15 damage when it hits, and then Siphon 6 extra damage every time it deals damage, every second after that for, I think, like maybe 3-4 seconds. So the nice part about this is that when you've already used recovery and you need more health, you can use Siphon Leech. You can get a little bit more health out of it that way. We did use Fireball on this to sort of level up quickly, and something that's kind of important here, you can use these on all the classes and you can enchant them. We'll get more to that later. But let's look at the Fighter. So the Fighter has one less skill than the Mage had, so it has Stomp. The Fighter is very much the tank of the group. So here, it does damage in a radius, and very importantly, it generates high threat. So if you're playing in a group of people and you want enemies to focus on you, use this. You'll make them very angry. They'll come after you. We then have a Rage, and so this increases all attack power stats temporarily. So let's see, we have magic power 2, attack power 26. Okay, well, our magic power went up. That's good. So it is doing what it says on the tin. Excellent. So that means that the Fighter here is kind of always useful in that regard. You just use Rage, everyone is now better at fighting for the next 30 seconds, and then you can just use it again. And then they're all better at fighting for a little while. We have Lethal Strike. So this one is you dash forward and deal damage. So I have that on mouse 3. You have to charge it first, and then if you hit an enemy, you deal damage. See, you did 23 damage. Okay. We have Blood Gush. Oh yeah, I have that. So that deals some initial damage, but then it applies a bleed over time to the enemy, which is kind of useful. So he's bleeding for 2 damage for a while. So it's just a way to just deal additional damage as you're wailing on the enemy. Alright, but what else do we got? We have Cyclone, which we have to be level 14 for. So this basically throws your weapon, and this requires a two-handed weapon. So we can't use it with our sword, but we can use it with our Great Hammer. So remember I said that it does damage in a 180 field around you. That's that right there. So it seems like it's even greater than 180, actually. It's probably like closer to 220 degrees around you, with also a little space around you being just the little aura you have around there being also a hitbox. So this would let me basically take this and chuck it at him from over here. We have Shield Bash, requires a shield. And so this one hits the enemy and it stuns them for a little bit. So you see those little things over its head. That's basically telling you that it's now stunned for a little bit. Again, this is useful if you are getting overwhelmed with an enemy, or you want an enemy to just stop moving around or stop attacking for a little bit. Maybe it's an enemy where parrying it is a little tricky, so you want it to stop moving, so you can just keep beating on it. Okay, well, let's look at the others. We have Bulwark. This is a passive. Essentially, it decreases the stamina cost from getting hit while blocking. So, let's talk about that real quick. So this is a parry. I believe it lasts right up until about that. One. But basically, oh, okay, it's while that little white field is there, you're parrying. Eventually you'll learn the enemy's attacks, how they wind up and what their attacks are. Some of them are literally just that the enemy turns purple or pink or something and then becomes a hitbox. So Bulwark specifically is when you are blocking. So when we are here. Now you can't keep your block up forever because we are losing stamina from blocking. That's what that little donut is. Or Taurus if you like that. Most of the fighter's abilities require stamina, so if we use this, so if we were to just keep our stamina up, now we can't keep our shield up at all. And it will come back up a little bit, but then immediately use the stamina. The fighter, to my knowledge, doesn't have anything that uses mana by default. So there's no reason to really increase your mana on a fighter. Reflect makes it so that when you... Yeah, so when you parry an enemy, they will take 40% of the damage that they would have done to you with their attack. So if we hit for... Yeah, if we hit for 10 damage, we'll say we would just take 4 damage. That's really the fighter. What else we got? Well, there's the rogue. Or the bandit, as it's called in this game. And bandits actually, I think, at least in the early game, bandits are really powerful. And the reason with that is, if you're using a bow, they're kind of really powerful with a single ability. So, bandits are fun because, well, they can get double and triple jump. So lets you get just a little bit higher. But let's look at their abilities, shall we? So, they have Venom Shot. So this is going to put a damage over time on the enemy. That was the wrong one. But damage over time on the enemy, he's now poisoned, he's just going to take a little bit of damage. It's basically just a ranged bleed. It's just that ranged bleed. The enemy can be bled and have this on them at the exact same time and just take even more damage. So you are encouraged to have a bunch of people of different classes joining you. I am not sure if 2 venom shots would stack, so I haven't tried that yet. Alright, after that we have Killer Jab. Now we're using a bow, so there's really no reason for us to use Killer Jab, but hey, good reason to... So Killer Jab, what this does is it strikes the enemy, and it also does a poison debuff. So it does 20 damage when you hit them, and then it does... And this decreases their movement, speed, and defense. So that's nice. I don't know if it does damage over time, though. It doesn't say it does, so assume it doesn't do damage over time. So if you wanted to get the absolute most out of the bandit, you would use that, and then switch over to this, and use the other one. Venom Shot. However, I caution you against that. Because again, you have a total of 6 skills you can use. This is not FF14, where you're going to be, you know, doing shift 1 through 4. Oh, final boss. Very nice. Yeah, I have a feeling that, I mean, like most games where you can have a lot of variability in build, if you are if you were playing with friends, you will have a much better time. I actually think multiple mystics might be really fun. I think when I was playing the mystic, I think I just mostly wasn't that versed with the game yet. So going back to the mystic might be a lot easier. I also think I would make my mystic more of like an Eldritch Knight, so just put a sword and a shield on it so I get the benefits of both worlds to a degree. But I'm not sure. I think the real problem that comes up is the lack of skill, lack of places you can put skills. That tends to create a little bit of an issue, I think. There's again 6 skills. And also rebinding these things to where they're more easy to get to. Pressing 6 is a bit out of the way. Oh yeah, that I 100% agree that the Mystic is probably very weak early game. The usual trend with games like this is that the big, strong melee punch thing class is the strongest early game, but the weakest late game. The more versatile ranged class, so like the bandit in this case, they tend to be better in the mid game, but they can also be pretty good in the early to late game. And then typically your dedicated spellcasters, where there's a limited resource that you use all the time, so mana. Using that and having to manage that while dealing massive amounts of damage tends to end up with that character being the most powerful in the late game. However, it's not always the case. Fun thing about Fist Blades, by the way, when you do an attack with them, you dive, which means you can kind of move really fast. So if you want to play a class where you can just kind of get everywhere really fast, this is the class for you. Alright, so what we have after that is Volley. Now, we're not high enough level to take Volley rank 1 just yet, but what it looks like is fires a projectile in the air, and this is basically a bomb. So you shoot it into the air, you have to charge it, so it works very similar to the mage's ball. You shoot it in the air, it explodes. So this is going to deal damage in an area, and then it's going to deal some persistent damage as well, it seems. Beyond that, we have Payday. This is a Fist Blades specific ability, and this one you basically you dash through enemies, it seems, and then just punch them and they drop money. You basically say, give me your money. So, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, in the early game, you might have to occasionally buy mana pots, but I never really found it to be a particularly massive issue. Let's see, I think you can get these if you want. If you really, really, really need to restore some mana, you could use those. I never really saw much of a need for that, because I tended to use the bell a lot on the Mystic. So after Payday, we have a Bomb and Trap. So this puts down a bomb for a little bit, and essentially when an enemy walks into it, it explodes. The radius and the damage gets more extreme the higher level the bomb is. So there it does 32 damage, but it has a fairly long cooldown on it. Now keep in mind, the one downside about these fist claws is they don't tend to do a whole lot of damage, but they do hit very rapidly. That is the primary benefit of them. After that, we have Mystic Veil. This effectively allows you to become invisible. You also heal while you're invisible. The heal and the duration of the invisibility increase the higher rank Mist Veil is. Yeah, so this lasts for 6 seconds later on. So if you ever need... So the bandit class is very much the I'm going to deal damage, but then when you start overwhelming me, kind of just vanish and then go heal. I don't know if that resets the enemy's health regeneration, though. So when there's nobody in the zone on the enemy's aggro list, the enemy will heal very rapidly. Keep that in mind. I don't think this resets that, because the enemy still sort of knows where you are, probably. I mean, we can actually just test... We'll test this in just a hot second. But yeah, this lets you... This is your class's ability to heal itself. We have Devious Signet. So this increases... This is your personal... This is your group buff that increases the critical strike chance, evasion chance, so dodge, and maximum stamina of everyone for 35 seconds. It has a 40-second cooldown on it. It's not too bad. You'll be able to keep it up most of the time. But we run into something that's kind of interesting with the bandit, which is it costs mana. Agile technique is that triple jump, right? Double jump. So when this gets higher level, we're going to eventually have triple jump. Yeah. They're very much going to be somewhat limited on what they can do with their stamina. And at the end of this, when you rank it up to level 3, you're going to unlock a super dash, basically, where I think you just hold this and then you dash for much longer. So if you want a high mobility character, then the bandit works out pretty well. So how do I think this class, at least right now, works fairly well? Well, bows. So, oh no, we're not hitting particularly quickly, right? Well, there's this nice ability you can find out in the wild. It's called Spread Shot. This shoots 7 arrows. Oh no! And essentially, you can melt bosses with this. So it says it only hit twice, but I'll shoot enemies with it. It'll do a bunch of damage. It'll hit a lot of enemies. It doesn't, but this is the max that it gets to. So it hit that one twice for 25. It hit this one twice for some. So it's actually pretty nice. I was farming one of the bosses for a little bit with this, and it seemed to work out pretty well. I guess if you wanted to, you could try getting close. We don't have enough mana to use Spread Shot and then the bomb, but yeah, I suppose the arranged option for this might be useful, but I'm not sure if it's good by the mid-game. It would be alright if I broke an ability you can get in the late game. Is it Divine? Because I've heard that one is absolutely busted. But sure, go for it. Share thy knowledge with us. Alright, can I make you angry? I can! Fantastic! What happens when I go invisible? Aha! Yeah, so they miss you, but they don't. And they do heal, because they can't see you anymore. Because you're not on their aggro list anymore. So this is blocking. If you block too much damage, if your stamina gets to 0, you'll be shattered and you won't be able to block anymore. But if you parry them, they're just now stunned and you can shoot them. Yeah, Divine, from what I have read on the wiki, is really powerful. It creates a field around you that deals continual damage to the enemy and heals whoever's in it. Yeah. Places an AoE on the ground that deals a moderate amount of damage every 0.4 seconds for 5 seconds at rank 3. It also heals you for the same amount at the same rate. So yeah, it basically creates a field that is the I'm going to fight here sort of field. And I believe that is a general skill that you can get on any character as well. So it's not linked to, say, Mystic or Bandit or the Fighter. So, to get to the first field vendor, you're going to want to go to this general area over here. It'll be the second zone that you get to when you head out into the open world. You're going to come up here, And over there is the catacombs. Those are your first dungeons that you can get to. And over here is Thule Valley. Thule Valley is really useful. I recommend going to the catacombs first because it unlocks a fast travel. And Thule Valley has this. Now, it also has these dudes. They're going to charge you a lot. So you saw that one that said blocks. Okay, guys, nice. Killed them relatively quickly. But yeah, your ranged option can do a lot of damage. So you enter Thule Valley, and you're going to want to hug the left, no, I mean the right path. Don't worry, I can tell cardinal directions. And general body lead directions, I guess. And we're going to go around here. These guys tend to have a certain range from their spawn that they're allowed to go before they just disappear. So as long as they're not one-shotting you, you can probably get around here. I've gotten here with a character that's level 1, so you can probably do it. There's also no consequence for dying, so keep that in mind. So after that, the vendor is over here. So this vendor, right from the start, you can go here and go to the cake, and you'll get a bunch of abilities that you can buy. So the first one is Leg Up. That's the one where you run faster. Remember, the Poons have it by default. And there is Execute. So this is more of a warrior-esque skill, but it's still a novice skill, so anybody can use it. If an enemy is low enough hit points, you have a chance to just one-shot them for the rest of the way. If you use it on somebody at full health, it's not going to do anything. After that, we have Fireball. Fireball is very useful. It shoots out at rank 1, it shoots out 1 fireball that does like 23 damage. At rank 2, it shoots out 2 fireballs that do even more damage. And at rank 3, it shoots out 2 fireballs and has 1 orbit you until it hits an enemy. It's very useful. After that, we have Spread Shot. That's the one I've been using. That kind of just kills things. It's really nice if you use a bow. Completely useless if you use anything else. I think you have to be using a bow for this. Then we have Spire. To my understanding, Spire just makes a bunch of little spikes come out of the ground. This might be useful against a huge boss, as more of the spikes will hit that huge enemy all at once. But against most enemies, which are relatively small, they're like your size, it's not going to hit a whole lot of them. It doesn't target enemies specifically, it kind of just does a bunch of spikes. But let's look at how Sturdy works for just a hot second. So let's switch over to our bow. Let's make someone angry. Let's use Sturdy. And now we're not doing anything, we're just kind of letting Sturdy do its thing. Keep in mind, you do have to hold E to pick up stuff off the ground. It doesn't auto pick up things for you. But now we have this guy. Let's put a bomb down real quick. Let him run into him. So enemies tend to have a tell that they're about to attack. These enemies, they sort of go, "Hur," and then they act like they're going to charge you. Other enemies, their eyes might turn a certain color. Others still, they might change a different color, but yeah, that's what they are. So, the bow, pretty ranged, good option if you want to play a nice evasive playstyle. Also, if you just want to play something where you're going to use a lot of other novice skills, with the more specialized bow-specific skills, then that can work out fairly well for you. Keep in mind, so with the bandit, some skills use mana and other skills use stamina. So in that way, this is kind of the in-between of the warrior, or whatever it's called, and the mystic. So with the bandit, you will actually, at some point, probably have a mix of strength, mind, and dexterity. but most of your abilities are going to scale with dexterity. Okay, so let's look at what we have here. So we don't have shield on this character. That's perfectly fine. We do have a sword. So what if we wanted this sword to scale with dex? Because we wanted to be a sword-wielding dex character. Does this specifically say that we have to be using claws? No. It says we only need to be using a melee weapon of some sort. Sounds good. So Volley says we need to be using a ranged weapon. I am very curious about something, because this I don't actually know. I want to see if I could use many shot with a wand or a bell. Just because I think it would be ridiculous to shoot 7 bell shots off all at the same time. I don't think it works that way, but who knows? It might. How much money do we have? 517. Well, let's go find. Hey, thank you for following Day Gaming. Okay, so you have this over here. This is your fast travel, basically. This is your version of the little waypoint marker in Diablo 2 that lets you teleport around different zones. Not every zone has a teleport marker, though. We'll just go here first. So this is the catacombs. This is the PvP area. If you are in multiplayer, that will kind of light up, and you can do some PvP if you want to. This is the portal to the catacombs. You press E, or whatever the button is on controller, and then you select the dungeon that you want to go to. Now, I do want to caution you against something, and that is enemies drop a set amount of experience. It doesn't matter if you're level 1 or 1 billion, an enemy is going to drop the same amount of experience. What this means is if you are trying to fight enemies that are killing you repeatedly, while there is no consequence for death, that means that you're now needing to go and refight that enemy over and over and over. And sure, the enemy might drop 100 experience when you kill them. However, is it more time effective to spend that time killing that one enemy for the 100 experience, or 2 enemies for 50? Or 2 enemies that you can kill relatively quickly and easily and safely for 50 experience. So there is no, to reiterate, there is no scaling on when you kill an enemy. You're not going to get bonus experience because it's higher level, or less experience because it's lower level than you. Alright, so remember we talked about transparency, right? So there's this little eye here. We can click on that, and now we can't see our pants. Wow, so useful while we're wearing a dress. But we can turn off our dress. We can turn those on. Sometimes you might not want the cape there because the cape just looks cringe. By the way, it's 2024, it's cringe to say cringe. But you might like your cape, so you might turn that off. Also with your glasses, you might not like your headpiece because it has something behind your head and you find it kind of distracting or annoying or, you know, whatever. You can just turn those off too. Maybe you just really like some pants. So we can do that. The rings don't show up on your body as far as I can tell, so you can't turn those off. Shields and weapons, they also show up. You can't hide those either. But let's go see. We probably should have gone to the other place, but whatever. It'll be fine. We'll get to that merchant fairly quickly. Kind of want some claws just so I can move faster. Ever since using the bandit and leveling claws, I'm just like, can I just use some claws? That'd be nice. So enemies that charge you, they do have a path that they follow. However, dodging out of the way of that is not necessarily the most reliable thing. No, I'm not. I don't think you can. Instead, I'm coming over here to see if I can buy spread shot. Yeah, it's a novice ability. Spread shot. Yeah, I can get it for 500. Excellent. I do have skill points. Excellent. Wonderful. So, let's learn that real quick. So when you use that to learn the skill, all it's doing is putting it in here. You still need to put a point in it. So let's put 2 points in that, 2 points in there. Why not? I haven't actually seen what Spire looks like. I've just read about it. So, first things first, if you actually want to do anything with these, put them down, you have to go back to town or to some sort of sanctuary. A safe zone, if you will. Oh, okay, so storage is shared between everyone. Nice. That actually means that you can get some... Okay, so it's the same way... So, back in my day, when we used to play EverQuest 1 back in 1997, there was a system in place where you could store stuff with a banker, and that would be transferable between all of your characters. Similar to what WoW does. FF14, your one character can do everything, change jobs on the fly, so it doesn't really matter there. But yeah, hopefully they have something like that in Path of Exile 2 as well. That would be nice. Doesn't seem like spread shot will work with a wand or a bell, unfortunately. So it is very much a bow, as I figured it would be. But now that we're back in town, we can... There's a ranged weapon. Wait, what if we make one of these scale with dexterity? Well, first off, let's see what Spire looks like, because I haven't actually seen it. Okay, sounds good. My real question is, can those hit an enemy repeatedly? I don't really want to go, through Catacombs 2 just to figure it out. So let's try it with this guy. Maybe? Yeah, I can hit them multiple times if they're big. So what that means is against some boss enemies who are huge, you're going to be able to just hit them multiple times with Spire, so in that case it might actually be worth it. But let's see if we can do some weird shenanigans here. So, is mini shot connected to specifically bows or weapons that are ranged and scale with dexterity? Therein lies a question. I have no idea. Enchant my stuff. Transmute to dex? Okay, sounds good. Well, we're gonna find out. No. It's as I thought. It has to be above. Okay, sounds fine. But here's the thing. If we did want to use spread shot with this character, let's say we looked at these bows, let's say we looked at the wands and we said, wow, this is garbage, I don't like this. Well, you can come over here to Vivian, the enchanter, and you can tell her to enchant your stuff. So what this does is this means you can make a melee weapon work with mind. Scale off of those. The important thing to keep in mind is that I don't think this allows you to use any skills specific to a class that would really take advantage of this. So as a mystic, let's say I wanted to use heavy weapons, I would never be able to get the warrior's ability to throw the heavy weapon. The other thing is, all the weapons in their base forms are really designed to be used with the class that's using them. So the Mystic, they really need to stay away from the enemy and just sort of hit them with a lot of damage. If I wanted to make a, say, melee mage. Oh, nice, yeah. Okay, cool. So I can go over here and get the specialization with melee weapons from the fighter trainer, the warrior trainer, if I so please. So we could go to master your spears, hammers, blades. I think I have a spear on me. No, I have a spear on another character. So we saw what... Yes, so spears, they hit twice, and they have a weapon arc. They have an attack arc that is... Attack arc that is not as wide as... Nowhere near as wide as the hammers was, but it's longer than the hammers. So if you want to really do some stuff where you're trying to hit an enemy from max range, you can get away with that. You can also go into first-person view if you want. I don't know if you're... Yeah, the weapon itself doesn't really show up, but it does... You see the weapon swing. So we have that. Alright. What else? So as Nikki was saying, there is a shop, and there is an item that you can use. There's a Spike over here, your storage. You can use him to mule items between your characters or transfer them. So we put these in. These you can find in the open world here. I'll show you that in just a second. But you can put items in here. You have 3 different slots. Each one holds 48 things. So we put this in here. When we go to a different character, we'll be able to take that out. So I don't think you can put crowns in though. But you try to blade Mystic. Oh, nice. Okay. I actually do like the... I like the Eldritch Knight sort of Gish aesthetic of characters. So, I don't know if you're familiar with that term. A Gish is from D&D 3.5. There is a race of people known as the Githyanki. They showed up in Baldur's Gate 3 as antagonists to an extent. I think there's a character named Lazael who's a Gith. And their warrior mages were called the Giths, or the Gish. Yeah, so like a blade singer is the elven equivalent of that. And so the prestige class of that would be the Eldritch Knight, or in D&D 5e it would be the Eldritch Knight, but more of a full caster. If you're really curious, a Gish character was someone who, specifically in 3.5, because 3.5 was just absolutely broken, it was a character who got full spellcasting powers, so all the way through 9th level spellcasting. They were better at fighting in melee than a caster was, so they'd get a base attack bonus of 15 to 16, as opposed to 10. And they'd be able to wear decent armor. Yeah. And they could be kind of busted, but they weren't really that bad. But they could be kind of busted from time to time. But yeah, the Blade Singer is kind of like that. The Blade Singer, if I remember correctly, it doesn't wear heavy armor, but instead it has specific dances that it can do that make it incredibly difficult to hit while it's doing a bunch of damage to the enemy. Or something along those lines. And I think it's like an elf-only thing, but they might have loosened those restrictions. But I like the idea is that I like the aesthetic of being a melee caster. Now this does kind of complement us to a degree. So we have a close range ability that hits enemies. We have an ability that stuns enemies. We can give ourselves a damage shield. We can buff ourselves and heal ourselves fairly rapidly, actually. I mean, if we needed to. So, it's probably not that bad. At rank 2 melee specialization, your jump attack launches you forward in a spinning maneuver, so you aren't near the enemy for very long. Yeah, you're very much going to be a character who gets in, does some damage, gets out. You do your whole spin attack in, probably stun them, do some extra damage really quick, and then get out. Alrighty, sounds good. But yeah. Okay, so after all of that, there is the mirror back here. This mirror allows you to basically reimagine your character. It also lets you do some other things. So if we look into the mirror, we can change our appearance as much as we want. We can make our head bigger. Basically, you can recreate your character. The only thing you can't do is so for each one of these that you change, you're going to have to... Each one of these areas that you change, you're going to have to pay a little bit more. The other thing that we have is going to be our equipment vanity. Oh, welcome back. So we can make items look like something else. And I don't think we actually need the mirror to do that. So let's see. Don't need to apply vanity to your gear. However, you need an illusion stone. Okay, so what that is getting at is if you want to make an item look like something else. So we have, let's say we really like how this split bark scepter looks. It is just, we just look at this and think that it is absolute peak. The best thing ever. Oh, the weapons can't be they can't be made to look a different way? That's unfortunate. Okay, well. In that case, we come over here to Spike. We'll grab a, random set of stuff out of here. I think I have illusion stones, so we'll see. So, we have these random items now. And we want them to look like... We want this to look like that. Well, we can come over to an illusion stone. And I could just buy something else. I have no idea what they look like, because I just don't do this. We might not have an illusion stone, but I think we can buy them. So let's say we wanted to buy an illusion stone. Illusion stone. It's 300. We don't have enough. But if we had one, we could use this to make gear. There is. Aha. Interesting. Okay, so if we wanted to make something look like something else, we could potentially do something with that. And it looks like we might be able to make our shields look a different way as well. So that's really useful. I didn't notice these. Now if we want to look at our stats, we can do that. But yes. Anybody in chat who knows more about the game than I do want to have anything that they want to add in? I'll probably be making another character pretty soon, just to run through the early game. Oh, thank you for following, Nikki80. Anybody have anything that they want to add? Or anything that they want to share with the audience? I mean, I can do an online lobby. It'll probably be me rushing to level 10-ish. I'll say one thing, Mystics have a very wide range of attack types with their weapons. Yeah, I agree. Being able to, at the very least, throw out bells is really useful. Mid-ranged flamethrower. Nice. That sounds really nice, actually. Yeah, and there's one that you can get. Bells are OP. Yeah, so this is actually kind of true. This is actually true. So, if you want more stamina for blocking, then you want to put more points into strength for max stamina. If you want more mana, because you're using novice abilities or just anything that requires mana, then you need to put points into mind. Or get gear that gives you more mana. And if you want more crit chance, then you're going to want to put points into dex. The simple way to do things is just going to be to put it into whatever seems best for your class. But that isn't necessarily always going to be the case. And just the other thing is always make sure to put points into vitality. Otherwise, you're going to have like 32 hit points. And at level 10, a lot of things are just going to be flat out one-shotting you. Nice. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, some of the classes are really nice. Let's see. Do we have a shield? I don't think so, and I can't afford one right now. So if we look at the fighter that we had pulled up. What we're going to find is that the fighter's going to have a whole lot of stamina, but they're also going to have an extra block for them as well. So we have block threshold is 7 damage. What I think that means is that if it deals less than I actually don't know what that does. I have no idea what block threshold actually does. I assume that it is that amount of damage is just flat out ignored, or it's reduced from how much stamina damage I do. Oh, cool. Nikki, what does block threshold do? I assume it's just extra damage reduction. As you guys can see, it's taking quite a while for the stamina to go down. Yeah, so it means it consumes that much damage off attacks, and if it does less than that, it just does nothing. Okay. So what that is getting at, guys, is that when you block an attack, sometimes, let's say the attack blows through. Let's say the attack does a certain amount of damage, it will deal damage through your block. So if we're blocking, the enemy will do a certain amount of damage through that block, we might take some damage from that. So what this does is that reduces how much damage can actually get through. Oh yeah. Oh, nice. It's just flat damage. It's just flat DR. I like that. I mean, it makes sense. Kind of makes sense. It's the benefit to playing a character that is able to use a shield. That actually kind of makes wands a little bit better on mystics, because then they're getting flat DR. Because mystics, I find, they kind of die easily to an extent. Oh, we might have something on us that lets us do something here. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, sword and shield, yeah. Yeah, being able to easily get through dungeons and just block things, so useful. And I'm just curious, how much, like, what is the actual... Oh man, I forgot how slow it is when you don't have things to help you move faster. Okay, so if we did want to enchant just something... Okay, so there's a certain number of... So we have to pay a certain amount of droppable items and money. Just costs the stone. Okay, so we need specific stones. Okay, I don't have any of those. Are those drops, or can we buy those? I'm assuming, since the game is in early access, effectively, I'm assuming that those are drops. Yeah, they drop from chests. Yeah. So that would just be something where you kind of just go and run dungeons. So for those of you who are brand new and watching, you're going to want to come over here. We can go to the Sanctum Catacombs. There will be some instances where chests might drop in the overworld or might be present in the overworld, but I'm not entirely sure about that. An easy place to get chests, though, is from dungeons. So again, you don't want to necessarily do dungeons that are higher level than your character. Being able to kill enemies quickly and easily is going to be more valuable to you than like taking on really strong enemies. Unless you want the challenge, at which point go for it. Typically really strong enemies that are by themselves you can probably just kill them relatively easily. As long as you master how to just block them, you can kill them pretty easily. So if we were to go into here, and let's say we just wanted to speed run something. And so we go into this level, 1 dungeon. So what you'll find is that if you're going to use a sword and shield as a warrior, you might want to just also have a heavy weapon just so you can very quickly destroy chests. So to give you an idea, we have to hit this twice, basically. We have to do 2 swings when the bigger weapon would just do it once. So these guys are a good example of when they attack, what I was talking about with that. So he's turned purple. There you go. Goodbye. So you're playing solo for the Dungeon 2. You want to be on the higher end of the recommended level. Because going in as soon as it's available is going to kick your butt, unless you're god tier parrying. Yeah, unless you really know what you're doing with parrying, the game is going to absolutely punish you. And you can come out of any attack to parry. So there's definitely animation canceling. So we have a chest here, and it just dropped a marrow bubble. That looks like a wand. So for our character, not the most important thing ever, and really we're just going with the idea of speedrunning it. So different weapons are going to have different jumping abilities as well. The hand daggers was that you do a dive, so you actually want to be as high as possible when you do that, and you'll get more range. The sword is you do a sort of dropping slash that can turn, once you get to a certain level of mastery, turns into like a spin attack. You see up on the top left, we have a map of the area. And so I'd recommend having the heavier weapon because that's why. Makes it easier. So, how would I say you should power level yourself? Because people are going to probably want to... By the way, if you teleport out of a dungeon, you can't go back into that instance of the dungeon. If you die in a dungeon... Oh, yeah, no, we're full on with stuff. But if you... 25 out of 24? Maybe. It might be counting one of our weapons as well. I'm not sure. But... Or it might be counting the weapon we're trying to pick up. Any end lag, huh? Oh! Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because there's that pause where he is. One misses it. Yeah, that makes sense. Little text that you can do. Oh yeah, no. I don't yet. But if we wanted to, say, power level ourselves, let's just get a bunch of stuff out of our inventory real quick. So, you can press Control to see what you have equipped. And then if what you have is better, just put it on. Yeah, it's an early access game, and I think it's made by one person, if I remember correctly. So these are spears. Spears are a little bit different from swords and hammers. So their normal attack is like this. So whereas the heavy weapon would swing all the way around you and hit everything around you, this is going to be hitting stuff on one side and in front of you. It also hits twice. I actually don't think it's faster to... So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If you dive through an enemy, it doesn't appear to hit them twice, unfortunately. But it hits them twice, so it probably adds up to more damage than a... I don't know. Maybe some enemies will have shields that scale with how many times they're hit. I'm not sure. But that's basically what spears are. You can't throw them, to my knowledge. Can you... Well, if you don't want to do the jump back. Well, yeah, but also, like, one of the things is, like, a lot of games are better simply because they're kind of janky, right? Oh. Nah. The shockwave with heavy weapons requires you to actually hit the ground. Alright. Let's see what we got. Yeah, it has amazing movement tech. I agree. So you can press Control when you're looking at stuff. You can see what this item is versus what's equipped. And then you can just, from there, see if anything is better. Inquiry is level 12. What I have equipped is hot garbage, comparatively. Oh yes, thank you, Nikki AD. Have a great night. And so, what we can see now is that everything that I have equipped right now is kind of not as good, I suppose, as... I mean, everything that I have in my inventory is inferior to what is there. This is a cosmetic, so if I wanted to, I can make myself have a hood of some sort, if I wanted to do that. Now, of course, the question is, what did I have on before that? Me smart. I think it was... That's a ring. Is it this? I think it was that. Alright, so... By the way, keep in mind that if you hit sort, all your equipped stuff is going to go to the bottom, so you probably want to do that before you go to a shop, just to make it faster to get rid of stuff. You can also hold shift and quickly get rid of things. If you sell something by accident and you want to get it back, the bottom part here can get that back for you. So also keep in mind that items kind of don't sell for that much. Let's see. I guess we'll go with the wood spear. So that's an iron spear. Also, the more stuff that you sell, the faster you're going to get stuff back. I mean, the faster stuff is going to show up. So we have an iron halo. This is an iron halo as well. Okay, so we can buy it for 200, or we can sell it for 150. So there is an amount of money that it goes down. Price goes up with level of items. Selling a level 20 gear gives you like 400 to 500 crowns. Yeah. Sounds good. So what that really means, guys, is that if you are making if you are, say, grinding the 1 to 6 dungeons, you're probably not going to get stuff that's worth all that much. You're going to want to find magic stuff, because that's going to sell for more. Magic stuff, I think I actually have any magic gear, do I? Not really on this character. But this one's exotic, so sure. Notice it's a different color. And then we can just pick it up afterwards. So you're going to want to focus on getting items that are that different color, that are not just normal white. That's going to give you... Yeah, that's going to give you a lot more money when you sell them, I think. You can also sell stuff from here. So let's say we got a bunch... Let's say we're playing a warrior, we don't use mana at all, and we have mana potions. So we could sell these if we wanted to. We have a bunch of items like this. Most of these are used for quests, but we came here to look at how to power level ourselves. So, let's think about that real quick. Yeah, white to blue to purple to something, maybe. Probably orange, typically how that goes. But we can come here and we can talk to the NPCs, and we can ask them if they have any quests. Well, they have these things called repeatable quests. So, this is your introductory one, your 2 introductory quests, essentially. And so that's ridding slimes and night spirits. So this gives us 168 experience, which is quite a bit when you're like level 2 or 3. Ridding slimes gives us 171. These 2 enemies are fairly easy to kill. If you go into the catacombs, you're going to find lesser wisps and greater wisps. So every run of catacombs, you'll probably satisfy those. Ridding slimes, you can go to the introductory area and there will be slimes there that you can just slaughter very quickly. So that's one way to level yourself. You should also always look for stuff like this. So these single quests. That's the developer's way of saying you can do this once. So so this level 10 quest will give us almost 2,000 experience, so 1950. Let's see if I can find a quest that's also level 10 but is repeatable. So we have this one, Making Vile Blade. So this gives half, well, no. It's going to give me a reward and it's not repeatable. It might become repeatable though. Maybe this guy will have something that I can do. But typically the single quests tend to give a lot of experience compared to the other crap weapons become repeatable. Nice. So purging undead. So this one gives us some dyes. No, some various potions. A decent chunk of money and some experience. But yeah, it doesn't look like I have any level 10s that I can do specifically. But the craft weapons, they seemed to do decently well. So that... Oh yeah, there's also her, but I don't think she actually has quests for us. Nah. Alright. Okay, so if we go to these, we see this one's about 1,000, this one's about 1,000. So... Oh, nice. So yeah, if we were to keep playing on this character, we would probably make a Vile Blade. And then there's the Whiz Wand. It tells you what you need, so 1 Whizbore Scepter, 5 Blightwood Sticks, 5 Blightwood Logs. Unfortunately, I haven't encountered these two yet, so I'm not sure what we're going to need for where I find those. And then we have this. So that would need Slimek Eyes and Death Gel Cores. I don't think I've encountered Death Gels yet. Bring me a Rude Blade. Okay, so some of these I haven't encountered yet, but I'm pretty sure if you keep doing the single quests, that is going to continually unlock new areas. But if you are low level and you don't really want to go into dungeons and you just want to power level yourself, the repeatable quests are definitely what is going to allow you to do that very quickly. So again, this is level 1, it's 168 experience. On top of the experience you're getting from killing the enemies, this level 5 is about double that. This level 6 has gone up by quite a bit. This one needs us to go into the catacombs. It's going to help you quite a bit there. Hunting hogs. So it seems as though the quests that require you to go into dungeons are going to give you the most experience and crowns, whereas the ones that don't require you to go into dungeons are going to give you far, far less. So we go with Keep Within, the Effold Terrace leading to the Ancient Keep, then the East and West Wing Chambers, there are sigils. Okay, sounds good. I actually don't know where those sigils are. There's a portal to the Effold Terrace. I don't actually know where the Effold Terrace is, so I'm assuming that it is near the Slime Princess. Yeah, we saw one in the dungeon. I don't know if I actually interacted with it in the dungeon. Yeah, I was thinking that it might be out where the diva is. So there's another zone over here that you can go to. And eventually you're going to get the quest of, like, killing Diva. And so when you get that quest, you're going to want to come over here. And you're just going to want to farm these guys for a little bit. And the Diva will get angry at you and decide to come and kill you. When she does that, you can just kill her And she drops a decent amount of experience for killing her. So it's actually, if you're trying to power level yourself and you don't want to go into dungeons, that's a decent place to do it if you just want to kill her over and over. Let's see, Woodreach Pass. Ah, that makes sense. Ah, okay, so that's these guys. Alright, makes sense. So now I know where these guys are, but I also want to go see what's past these guys. Because now I'm just curious. Okay, so the Crescent Keep. I had seen people in this zone before. I just don't know what level the enemies are here. Can I do some weird... Aha! Alright, what's in here then? Turn around for fast travel? Nice. You can actually climb the rope? Nice. I like it. Alright, so we have that. Various enemies over here. There's a path over here, so let's go check this out while we're here. Okay, so this will lead to a different place that I have not unlocked yet. I always like little jumping puzzles where it is a little on the silly side, but not too bad. Oh, and these are the golems. Nice. I bet. Oh, nice. Alright, those were those guys. What about you guys? Sounds good. Also, just so you guys know, enemies' attacks do pass through... Okay, these guys are hurting us through our block, so do want to come back. Alright, nice. Yeah, it'll heal us gradually. Very gradually is my understanding. Is there anything else over here? Doesn't look like it. Nice. Friend it. Okay, nice. I have not seen these guys before. Oh, nice. Alright, big golems have a flash on their hand when to parry them. Alright. You go to parry just before their attack sound plays. We lean back slightly. Alright, sounds good. And you guys might have noticed that purple sort of mist that was around that area. You know, thinking about it, that probably makes the Mystic completely overpowered if they can just heal themselves very rapidly. It's like this purple mist. That means there's a combat encounter in there. Okay. So it looks like we need to go through that combat encounter, and that would open that up. If we were playing as a rogue, we might be able to get up there. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, Siphon Drain is really powerful. The heal over time effect is really nice. Which is kind of interesting. So there is the whole aspect of the... so you have 6 abilities, so we actually have too much stuff on our bar. So if we wanted a character that was able to heal themselves while at the same time dealing a bunch of damage, we'd actually want to more focus our kit into something that we're going to use all the time. So this is useful. In like a team setting, having a bunch of someone of all 3 classes, having a person of each class and them using their buffs to basically make everyone really good at what they do would be really useful. And then your tank, maybe you don't use one of these as much as you would like to. So that you might swap that out with Siphon Leech, something like that. If you are playing a class that really has low mana by default, you might use Alacrity to cast spells that are of higher cost. So, you know, there's all kinds of cool stuff. So we showed them where one of the vendors was. Let's actually show them the other vendor in town real quick. So the other vendor is behind this person. They're basically the gambler from Diablo 2. This character. So you can talk to him, and, well, that gambler. And so we can spend our money buying random items. Now you can get skills from this guy as well. Yeah. The 10k gams are not worth it. You'd be better off just using these. So if we wanted to grab those, that gets us, you know, some items. So we get one that's +3 defense. We get this one. It's a Ring of Ambition. And then if we just for comparison, we grab one of these, it is a random ring. So it's really not worth it. So when did you do those? Yeah. It's definitely one of those situations where it's probably not going to be worth it. So we have this killer pole. We have a stone great blade. Which is just a heavy weapon. Alright, sounds good. We have the Precise Rude Blade. Yeah, well, she wanted the Rude Blade, so that makes sense. Precise Rude Blade versus what we had, which was 6 to 17, much higher. Nice. But yeah, the Gambler is, in some ways he can be useful, in other ways maybe not as useful as you would like. But he can get you some nice stuff. We got this Rude Blade, so that's an upgrade for us. So it just depends on what you think will actually be worth it to you. So let's talk about maybe some synergies. So the Mystic has the ability to just heal themselves. There's an ability that drains your health by 50 to 40%, 60 to 40 maybe, but fully refills your mana. You can then use the self-heal ability to just heal yourself up with less mana. So that's definitely a thing that you can do to find ways to make the game work for you. But yeah, well, I think that's mostly the video that I wanted to make. So yeah, sounds good. For those of you who are struggling to climb up this tower, there's this cool thing that you can do. So these stick out a little bit, right? You can also go to the side. Wow. If you don't hold forward, you can go to the side. You can just very quickly get to the top. Just slip out here, and from here you can kind of just get everywhere in this map. We have some friends up here, they drop something. Oh, it respawns for every character. Okay, sounds good. So if you wanted to, you could make another character. If you sold that, I guess, you could get another character. And get that and put it in the chest. But there's stuff all over the place around here. So you saw your current favorite ability combo is Stomp AoE Taunt, Sturdy Auto Parry, yeah. And then having a fighter pass that reflects damage on parry. That actually sounds really nice. That actually sounds really nice. Then just use something that just does a bunch of damage in an AoE, like a heavy weapon or something, and you just pump out damage. So we have these two guys, and yeah, they have a chest here that has an item. It respawns after a bit? Nice. So there's also other things you can do. This is the top of the Fighters Guild. There may or may not be an item down here for you. We can't give away all of their secrets, now can we? Oh, we made it. I wasn't expecting to. And if you fall off, that's okay. We'll just respawn here. You won't die or anything. But yeah. What the? Whatever. Yeah, there's 3 chests in town. One is up there. One may or may not be near the Fighters Guild back there. And the other one may or may not be near the shop owner. But I'll leave it to you guys to figure that out. By the way, there's a much easier way to get up here. But if you really want to do it in the hard way, there's a bunch of different ways you can get up there. It's where you might want to go, but I'll leave that to your parkour. Yeah, you can slap her in the ass. Then she'll get angry at you. She'll get angry and slap you. Tail smack you. Of course, that now means that we are following this lady around for no reason. Oh, there we go. Sort of worked. But yes, there we go. Alright, so that was the... That's what I kind of... Oh. By the way, guys, this hits for like 1 to 3 damage. So if you ever wanted to do like a super hardcore... Let's see if you can pay that hit. You might be able to. That'd be kind of funny, actually. Be better if you could just smack her anytime. Then again, just imagine she one-shots the character, eventually gets sick of us. She just uses her max level mystic powers and just obliterates us when we respawn. Then yeah. She's like, why you little? And then destroys you. I mean, it is an attack, so... Yeah. I have it set to L. But I guess we can try that right now and see if it works. Just needed to go after a book. Can you lock onto her? No. Ah, that makes sense. Yeah, it is what it is. But alright, everyone. I do think that is all the time I have right now. I'll probably be uploading this to YouTube relatively quickly. And we'll see where it goes from there. Alright, everyone, thanks for dropping by. It's actually getting kind of late my time, and I gotta get up early. So I will catch you all later. Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming to the stream.